servant, maidservant, cattle, stranger in thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth and so forth. The Lord blessed the Sabbath and hallowed it. Love is intimate. You know what love does? It draws aside for intimacy. God is saying, if you love me, you don't just go live your life. You come apart to me. You want to be with me. You want to fellowship with me. You want to drop the cattle and the activities and the land and the busyness, and you want to be with me. And that's the way love is. You see, love is loyal and faithful and reverent and intimate. That's all he's talking about here is loving him. That's all he wants. Why, when it was all summed up, when the whole deal was summed up, Jesus said the whole thing can be summed up in these words: love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Right? That's it. And the second part of the commandments are toward men. And what is he saying there? Toward men, it's love again. Look at verse 12. First of all, love is respectful. Love is respectful. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Love is not lawless. It is not rebellious. It is respectful. It gives honor to people. One of the great characteristics of love is love always seeks to say the best about everyone. Love always seeks to aid and help and assist and honor. Love is respectful. Love is harmless. Where there is true love, there would be no injury. And so he says in verse 13, thou shalt not murder. Love wouldn't murder. Love is harmless. It hurts no one. It helps. Next one, love is pure. Oh, love always seeks the purity of another. So thou shalt not commit adultery. Adultery defiles, but love seeks only purity. And then another love is unselfish, he says. Love is unselfish. Thou shalt not steal. Love doesn't steal. Love what? It gives. It gives. It doesn't take, it gives. And then number 9 is in verse 16, love is truthful. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Well, if you lie against your neighbor, you're trying to hurt him. If you love your neighbor, you say the truth. Love is truthful. Finally, love is content. Love is content. Doesn't want its neighbor's house. Doesn't want his neighbor's wife. Nor anything he has. It's content. It's content in this sense. Love says, I'm so glad you have that stuff. My happiness is in your possessing it. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Love toward God. Love is loyal, faithful, reverent, intimate. Toward men, it's respectful, harmless, pure, unselfish, truthful, and content. You see, even the 10 Commandments, beloved, say the same thing. Be like God. God loves. Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and thy what? Neighbor as thyself. You love your neighbor, I'll tell you something. You'll respect him. You'll never harm him. You'll treat him with purity, unselfishness, truth, and you'll be content not to have what he possesses. That's all Jesus was saying. In Mark 12, he made that statement, summing up the law. No wonder Paul said, the whole law is fulfilled in this. Love, love, love. Be like God, people. Love like God loves. And God forgives people who offend him. So we see the plea, walk in love. Now I want you to see the pattern very quickly and we'll close. The pattern. As Christ also hath loved us and hath given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling savor. Now listen, here's the pattern. You say, love like God loved? How does God love? Well, God loves in this way. He forgives sin. And it doesn't matter how bad the sin, how continuous the sin, he forgives it. Well, who's the example of the pattern? It's none other than Christ. Now, I want you to see something here. It's very important. Listen, as Christ also hath loved us. Now, catch this one, people. I believe, and I've said it a lot of different ways in years past. I want you to get the message. I believe that biblical love is not an emotion. Please, it is not an emotion. It is never defined as an emotion. It is an act of self-sacrificing giving. I'll tell you, if we had a little of that kind of love in our marriages, it'd make a difference. People say, well, I don't love her anymore. Then you're a sinner. That's right. At least once in your life, can't you commit yourself to love somebody, not for what you get out of it? Just one person, God says. Find one person and cleave to that one person and give yourself to that one person if you never got anything out of it, and you'll know what it is to know the love of Jesus Christ, who didn't love us because of what he'd get out of it, but loved us in spite of the hurt You see, it is a love that doesn't exist on the basis of reciprocation. That's the point. It's that humble, obedient, self-giving, self-sacrificing love that says, I love not for what I get out of it, I love because it's my nature to love. If you don't love somebody, if you've dissolved a friendship or a marriage or something else and you don't love somebody, that's not their problem, that's your problem. That's a sin. Love, biblical love, is not conditional. It is unconditional. Our dear Lord is washing the feet of the disciples in John 13 while they're being so unloving to Him, so indifferent to Him. He's going to the cross. They could care less. They're arguing about who's going to sit on His right and left hand in the kingdom. They want to know who's going to be glorified in the kingdom, which of them are going to be the hotshots, and He's going to the cross. They are indifferent. And He gets down, blesses them and washes their feet, and He loved them in the midst of their most ugly moments because it wasn't reciprocal. He died on a cross, and He said of those people standing there spitting on His face, Father, what? Forgive them. It's that kind of non-reciprocal, unconditional, not what I can get out of it stuff that God is after. In fact, it says in verse 2, watch this, that when Christ did that and gave Himself as an offering and a sacrifice, it went up to God as a sweet-smelling savor. The whole act of Christ smelled good to God because it was His kind of love. It was independent and it was unconditional. God loved that. It was sweet in His nostrils. You say, what does it mean? What does that mean? Well, Philippians 4:18 says it. An odor of sweet smell, a sacrifice acceptable, well-pleasing to God. It is simply a symbol that God was well-pleased. You'll remember in Leviticus chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have 5 offerings. The first 3 offerings, the burnt offering, the meal offering, and the peace offering, are in chapters 1 to 3. These were required of Israel. Now you'll remember that the burnt offering speaks of Christ's total devotion to God, how He literally gave His life. The meal offering speaks of His perfection. And the peace offering speaks of His making peace between God and man. And those 3 offerings are sweet-smelling savors. Because God is pleased with the devotion of Christ. God is well pleased with the perfection of His character. God is well pleased that He made peace between God and man. You see, it's that kind of stuff that pleases God. You want to please God, you want your life to rise to God's nostrils as a sweet-smelling savor, then let it be a life of love. Let it be a life that's characterized by unconditional love, which forgives and forgives and forgives. And you know, then we're not going to